Right, welcome to another episode of the Pure Property Podcast, where we talk about all things property and property investment. So today we are in shorts and t-shirts because we are recording from not sunny England. We're recording from sunny Dubai. So me and Matt have been fortunate enough to fly out here to meet with Nick, and we thought we'd do a episode based around Dubai, especially as we're out here, and the Dubai real estate market. And we're going to sort of put the spotlight on you, Nick. It's been a while since you've been on the podcast. How you feel about jumping back on?
No, good to be back. Obviously, there's a lot to talk about here in Dubai, so looking forward to getting stuck in.
Yeah, and Matt, how you finding the heat?
Yeah, definitely the humidity is caught, I think, everyone out. I know Nick was saying about it before we came over, but
I told you.
To actually be here, it's a bit of a game changer, to be fair, compared to the UK.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, we haven't done an episode like this where we focus on the Dubai property market. Obviously, we're a UK-based company, but we've got offices here in Dubai, where Nick's based, and also Hong Kong as well. And we cover and sell Dubai properties also.
Yeah, we get a lot of UK obviously buyers as well who are always interested in the Dubai market, and hopefully I'm sure Nick can give us a bit more of an insight.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's do it.
Yeah, sure. You ready for the questions?
Let's rock and roll.
Yeah, just so you're aware, you've not seen this before, so you're ready for whatever comes your way.
Yeah, fire away.
Nah, we'll be easy. Don't worry. We'll go gentle as it's your first time back in a while. I think let's go into really giving a up-to-date brief overview of the current property or real estate market here in Dubai at the moment.
Okay, so it's very, very busy. So since after COVID, it's kind of been, really renowned for having aggressive growth, both on the rental side and the capital growth side. Now, there was a bit of speculation about how long that would last and how long that growth can be maintained for, because we are talking about 10, 20, 30% per year in capital growth. And, if you look at the marina, you're talking plus 20% rental rises in the past year. So, a lot of people are asking how long can that be sustained for? But at the moment, there's certainly no signs of slowing down. The off-plan market is still firing on all cylinders. So Q2 this year, you're looking at about 55 to 60% of the transactions being done per month are on the off-plan market. That's for a number of reasons we can speak about later. But certainly at this moment in time, there's no sign of slowing down. We were expecting a little cool off in the summer, but the transaction numbers are still there. The demand's still there. You're still seeing crazy property launches as well. I was telling you guys about, launching DIFC where we've got buyers queuing up. You can't get stock there. And then, of course, we've had the infamous Palm Jebel Ali launch as well, which is big news. So, hundreds, if not thousands of people at that launch event. So Dubai is still as crazy as ever would be the short way to answer it.
Wow. That is mad.
It's just comparing it to the UK market, it's eye-opening, right?
Yeah, I think we've definitely noticed that, haven't we?
Yeah, I think even when I know Nick first kind of moved over here and kind of set up base, it was here in some locations 20% capital growth in a year. It was like unheard of in the UK. So yeah, it's really impressive. And as you said, Nick, to hear that it's continued to do that and not slow down is what's I'll be honest, is most impressive. So we do hear that now and again, don't we, where certain areas spike and then that's it.
Yep.
But it sounds like it's continuing.
So then you mentioned about the growth, and we know the property market, the real estate market has been doing very, very well here. So after the last few years, then how has the market evolved, and what do you think has influenced that over the last few years?
I think there was a number of factors, but primarily it was the government's handling of COVID and a few regulation changes which took place following that year or those 2 years. So things like how quick and sharp they were with the vaccination, with lockdowns, like they kind of did it, got it done and dusted, and then bang, slowly opened up again, obviously with relevant rules in place. So it kind of came a bit of a hub for tourists. A lot of like influencers came here as well. And then it kind of blew up on social media as the place to be. But that was, at influencer level, but also, remote workers, companies wanting to change location. So we saw a lot of corporate activity. That was one thing that caused, a big wave of people to come to Dubai, which obviously we know has an impact on rental prices and values. And then secondly, you saw things like changes to the remote working visa You had the golden visa introduced, which was big news. So that's the 10-year visa, where if you invest 2 million cash, like physical cash, into a property, then you can get a 10-year golden visa without having to
10
renew
million, is that dirhams or English?
2 million dirhams.
2 million dirhams,
Yeah,
sorry.
2 million dirhams for a 10-year golden visa.
Yeah.
So when that came out, that's why you see all these headlines all the time about high net worths moving to Dubai, millionaires moving to Dubai. That was a big driving factor. Reason being is they can, have the security and peace of mind to know they've got that 10-year stretch with bank accounts, education for kids, world-class medical facilities, and just a bit of security and peace of mind. So that was another one. And then there was just a general drive from the government for tourist activity. So they're always trying to push up visitor numbers, always trying to push boundaries and get people in. But I would say in the past few years, fundamentally, it was how they handled COVID and these specific government policy changes, which has just caused people to keep coming.
And Nick, in terms of that, have you found with the 2 million dirhams, do you know what that would equate to in pounds at all?
Oh, you put me
I know
on the
I'm
spot
putting you on
now,
the spot.
mate.
Is there
I
a
would
rough
say-
amount just so obviously listeners in can kind of get a gist as to what kind of price point?
I mean, it's higher ticket compared to what we typically see in the UK for investment values, but I would say between 400 and 500,000 pounds.
Okay.
I'd say around 450. Looking at the recent exchange rates, but yeah, that's what you'd be looking at.
It's not bad.
But it's not too bad if you
to
want
get a 10-year visa, yeah.
the higher end stuff. But don't forget, you can come into this market and invest 100 and it probably works out about 180,000 pounds now and get the 2-year investor visa. And that's 750,000 dirhams. So that's actually what I came in on, because you can get it on business startup and business formation as well. But for the higher ticket guys who just want more longer term security, then they've got that option.
Wow. And obviously Dubai, we know, seeing the pictures and all the developments we launch as a company as well, just the marketing, the pictures, even the finished products are unbelievable. So Dubai is well known for its luxury real estate. So could you tell us a bit about the demand for luxury real estate here in Dubai and how that's affecting the market? Because one thing I've noticed is, like you mentioned, there's a lot of wealthy people coming here and they're going for top quality sort of luxury properties.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think it goes back again to looking 3-4 years ago and a search for space.
Yeah.
Like we saw a similar principle to the UK, right? You saw a lot of people leave the city centres, look for that extra room for study or the Zoom room, so to speak. They wanted garden space if the kids or, people were generally working from home. So that's kind of the same principle, but I'd say on a larger scale is what we saw here. So we saw people move due to those regulation changes, but then we also saw people, perhaps upsize quicker than they were expecting to, or just, deploy more capital to buy more property effectively or more space. So that luxury end of the market saw huge demand. So villas did amazingly well.
I remember the stats on those were really good. Like
really,
the increase on the villas has been really high.
That goes back to where you see the 20-30% jump. So a lot of that was in the high end resi market for villas. And then the other side of it is we have seen a lot recent times branded launches. Yeah. So there's some big names coming to the market. Bugatti came in, Armani, Aston Martin. Yeah. They're all doing partnerships with these developers, which are causing the product, well, one, the prices to drive up, but two, demand as well, because people want that trophy asset. They want that name associated with the product. So that end of the market is doing really well. I think it was Knight Frank or Savills, they were doing a survey worldwide of which cities are most dominant with branded residences, and I think Dubai was certainly up there. I can't remember exactly where we came. So that end of the market is seeing huge demand, and it's only going to continue to rise for a number of reasons. But we don't see that stopping anytime soon.
So would you say the sort of recent government policies, because you touched on that earlier, they have had a very positive impact on the Dubai real estate market, particularly in terms of foreign ownership and taxation? Have you noticed that?
I think that's just always been quite positive. So I think it was 2002 they made the rule where non-residents can purchase freehold property here, or made it possible. So it's not, that shows you how immature the market is here. Only 2002, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
So if you are, just for those based overseas, perhaps listening in the UK, if you buy property in Dubai, you are buying a freehold property. Yeah. There's no option to buy anything else. So when that happened, obviously that drove a lot of interest in the marketplace, and that's only continuing. So getting that freehold structure is really important. Less charges, less restrictions around what you can do to the property, and it just gives a lot of people confidence that they're the outright owner. They're not going to have to mess around with anything else. So yeah, that's been really positive, and I think that's going to continue to be a selling point for a lot of people that are considering entering the market.
And I was just going to hop in there and just say, obviously, we know, associated with property and apartments as such in the UK, it's more leasehold, that typical mindset. With the Dubai market, for the listeners, is there kind of, obviously, we know with leasehold in the UK, you've got service charges, potential on some, we know there's ground rent. Is that happening in Dubai to give obviously people, as you mentioned, it's a freehold property?
Yeah.
Do they have to pay that kind of cost or?
Yeah, so generally you do. It can be quite extortionate in some cases as well, especially as you guys know, the level of product or the quality of product finish here and facilities is generally quite good. I mean, don't get me wrong, we do advise people to steer clear of one or two developer names, but on the whole, the level of what you're going to get as an end finish is phenomenal. You get value for money.
Yeah.
You get your swimming pool, you get your car parking space with every purchase. Typically you get a gym, sauna. And now, because all the developers, I can't remember who was, maybe me and you would discuss this, Toby, but the developers trying to outdo each other each time. Yeah. So, your co-working spaces, your outdoor cinemas, your running tracks.
One square foot bigger than the other place, right?
Exactly. Creeping up every
they're
time.
always one better. Every sort of developer partner you speak to, don't you? Like the representative, they're like, yeah, we're better than them because we've got this bit bigger or we've got this thing different. You're like, oh, God, yeah, I hear that from every single person.
Yeah. And typically that staff member probably worked for the previous developer as well. So that's interesting. But yeah, as a result of that, there are hefty service charges in some cases, especially the higher end of the market. Again, I'll be speaking in dirhams here. So you'd be looking at, for a decent luxury product, if it's serviced, you can look up to 30 to 35 dirhams per square foot per annum for the service charge, which, this will shock you. It's probably around £6 per square foot for high-end service residences. Yeah. But that can come right down to 10 dirhams per square foot, which is typically what you guys will see in the UK, about £2.50 a pop. But for that £2.50, you're getting a pool, the parking space, you're getting all that stuff as standard. Ridiculous. So when you compare it to a high-end Bradford residence, for example, then you get a lot for your money.
No, I get that. So with many people looking to invest in Dubai and interested in that, I mean, Matt, you've had people inquiring and you've spoken to clients as well. So the appetite is there, especially we're seeing from UK buyers as well. What advice would you give to international investors looking to enter this market?
Good question. So one big factor, which is, I think, a huge difference compared to the UK market, is how important developer reputation is. Yeah. So in the UK, if you purchase in, Birmingham, Liverpool, Manchester, and you get a good location in the city centre, typically you're fine. You're going to see good demand. You'll see good rental, value rises, same as property value rises. Whereas here, you can buy in a good location, but if you've got a subpar developer brand, it can affect the tenant demand and the resale exit as well. So what you've got to think about is going with a household market name. Yeah. You're going to get some big players here. Some of them delivered 80,000 plus units, public companies. So you can pick out, there's plenty to choose from. You can pick out one or two to work with, but it's crucial they need a good reputation. One, because as I say, when you come to sell, the next investor, whether they're an owner-occupier, they're a mortgage buyer, cash buyer, or they're a hardcore investor, they want a good branded residence or a good developer brand name. So that's going to affect your values when you come to exit. But two, and this again is a very different aspect compared to the UK, is the tenants are aware of it as well. Yeah. So when tenants are searching for properties, they're only going to go for what they know is going to be a good product. They're not going to have, super thin walls to hear their neighbours. So developer brand is really important. So if you're sat in the UK or overseas searching in the Dubai market, going with a good reputable developer, I would say, is more crucial compared to the UK market. Secondly, and again, you'd expect us to say that, but you have to work with a good broker. Yeah. You need an independent third party helping you along that purchase process. So as we know, one of the biggest educational factors that we tell people, and when we're educating them about how to invest, is with the process. So it will shock a lot of people, but typically no solicitors are used. Yeah. Typically there isn't drastic amendments to contracts if they're requested. So you have your sales and purchase agreement, most investors have the same one in the building. It's either you sign it or you don't.
Yeah.
It's kind of that simple. So having someone there you can bounce ideas off, just double check, is this how it's normally done? Is this charge right?
Yeah.
What's the timeframes and process for this? And just generally good customer service is really, really important. So I think if you can get a good broker or consultant to deal with and you pick out a good developer, that's 80-90% of the battle.
And just to highlight in there, Nick, in terms of, is there kind of people, is it quite easy to find someone like that, or is it very specific to who you work with, I guess agency wise as well? Have they got in-house ones, or is it normally independent? How does that work
good
normally?
point. There is some in-house developers that you can use, but what I would say is you would need to know who the developer is in order to locate them. So to give you an idea, I think there's over 1,600 registered developers in Dubai, which are actually regulated by RERA, which is the governing body. So it's a bit of a needle in a haystack. You can go through, you can try, you can Google, you can speak to a few companies, but it'd be very time consuming and quite tedious. So what I would recommend to people is work with a good broker. That broker will have an unbiased view of the market. It's similar to the UK, but they've got a wider pool to choose from. So they'll know what launches are coming, what locations are doing well, what developers' products have sold for and how they performed in the past. Another big one is, you were saying earlier about how the projects look really good on the images.
Yeah.
Like, how does a developer deliver against those images as well? That's a big factor. So it is easy to do. They can go direct to the developer, but having someone that particularly knows the UK market, can translate it, can relate it to the Dubai market, I think is really, really worthwhile, especially as it's not going to cost you any extra.
Yeah.
So take that on board.
Yeah, no broker fees. That is good. So then would you have any emerging areas that you would say to look out for at the moment?
Yeah, so I mean, we get a lot of people that come in and the first thing they say is, I want to buy Marina or I want downtown.
I remember getting that all the time. Yeah.
So it is certainly possible to buy there, but it's the same principle as if you're buying in, Mayfair.
Yeah.
You're paying over the odds, your rental yield can be lower and demand for those types of assets are exceptionally high. So what we want to think about is the numbers at the end of the day, especially if you are purely investing for return. So you want to look at emerging locations, and don't forget, Dubai is not huge, right? So you can get to the other side in 30, 40 minutes on a good day from one side to the other. So getting a location which is 15 minutes, 20 minutes from the marina or downtown is generally what I would recommend to people.
Yeah.
So places like JVC is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And that's often, mentioned quite a lot purely because there's a lot of development happening there. So you've got really good developers in there. You've got Bingati, Ellington, Imitaz as well. So there are some good, safe developers there. And we see the demand for that because if you look at the statistics this year, I can't remember if it was Q1 or Q2, but JVC was actually the highest transacting community in the whole of Dubai, beating Dubai Marina. And if you think of the Marina, there's over 200 towers there.
Is that due to price because it's so close and convenient?
Yeah, I think it's
people being priced a bit like we see in what we saw in London, people being priced out the sort of the popular areas and then moving a bit further afield.
Yeah, definitely an element of that, I think, from the owner's perspective and the tenant side as well.
Yeah.
So as a result of that, you've seen a few tenants. I mentioned earlier that marina prices have gone through the roof. So JVC is 15 minutes east of the marina, effectively. So you're getting a lot of tenants come to JVC because the prices have gone up in the marina for rents. Yeah. As a result of that, the rental yields are creeping up in JVC, and then the investors come in and snap it up. So good value for money for the actual purchase. And then good rental yields has caused, huge demand in JVC. So that's one I'd look at. We're seeing a lot of developers go even slightly further out now. So Studio City, Arjan, good couple of boutique developers out there. You've got Samana developers who do private pools in their units, and they've got long payment plans as well. So that's a good opportunity to leverage interest-free effectively. Yeah. And then you've got HMB, which is another good one. I actually live in their previous building in JVC. So they're really, really good. And they're building out in Arjan. So again, all these communities, you've got a lot of choice. It's just a case of working out what's right for you, getting the right payment structure, and then making sure the numbers are all stacking up for you. But those are a couple of merging communities I'd suggest. So JVC, Studio City, and Arjan.
All right, nice. Put those on our radar. Then can you give us, because you touched on it there about the rental market in JVC, so can you give us insight into the rental market in Dubai? So are there any notable changes or trends with rental prices and demand at the moment? You mentioned obviously JVC, but in general? Because at the UK at the moment, what's the rental market like, Matt?
I mean, yeah, well, I mean, across the UK, didn't we?
Yeah.
We kind of spoke about it the other day. I think it was a 10% increase.
Yes, double digits.
Over the whole of the UK, which we were really
As an average,
impressed with. Yeah, so it'd be interesting
When
to
you
hear.
consider South East,
Oh,
that is very good.
It is, absolutely. And I guess there was some, even when we looked into it, I know we spoke about it on the podcast before, but some areas surprised us, definitely, didn't it? And we weren't really.
So we're seeing growth, aren't we?
Exactly.
Like constantly, and again, that's because of the current market in the UK. The rental market is booming at the moment. So, what would you say in terms of the rental market in Dubai? What trends and sort of changes in demand are you noticing with prices?
Yeah, I mean, it's still very aggressive growth. That's the short way to say it. New products handed over from developers will always see exceptional demand. They have tenants lined up months before. So overall, the rental values are doing exceptionally well. What I would say is one thing that overseas investors need to think about is if you do have a tenant in situ for 12 months and an official tenant, then there are restrictions on how much you can actually increase the rent by. So you do have to use an online calculator and actually work that out in terms of staying in line with the law. And again, tenants are very, very savvy in Dubai. So a lot of them know this. So that's one thing that a lot of people do have to think about. But you will see on average better net yields, or what they call here ROI, than you would into the UK compared to the UK in most cases, right? It does vary. But on average, if you look across the board, you're going to see strong rental rises and strong general net returns. The other thing I'd mention as well, and obviously one thing that we push both in the UK and Dubai is doing the short let model. So when you look at regions like, JVC, where they can hop in a taxi, 15 minutes, they're in JBR Beach, which is the most prominent beach in Dubai. And if you can drive, an 8, 9, 10% net return, fully managed on your behalf, you're sat in the UK, that's earning good income for you, and you're getting that aggressive capital growth, and you've got a payment plan. You start to see how it can,
and you've got a holiday home.
And you've got a holiday home. You've got the flexibility to pop over and, sit in the hot heat like Matt's experienced lately. So
get a management company in as well. I guess that you can obviously arrange all of that as well, because we know a lot of, we get a lot of investors in the UK when we have short-term lets. It's like they expect themselves to have to do it. And it's like, that's going to be very time consuming if you're having to update Airbnb or booking.com or whichever platforms you're using. So in terms of that, Nick, is there, I guess there's quite a big variety of companies, I'm guessing, over here that you can use. Yeah,
I mean, we do have our favourites, obviously. So we've got a handful that we pick and choose from. But there's going to be no shortage of agents willing to take your money to look after it for you. But it is a good point, because one of the concerns people have is, how can I buy a property overseas if I'm in the UK? So to be very clear, you would have an agent working with you from start to finish for the full legal purchase process. You'd obviously have developer support as well from their in-house team. You can have the agent advise you on visas. You can then have a mortgage broker, an independent mortgage broker, give you quality advice like you would in the UK. Then you can have a furniture pack delivered, installed, and get all up and running. And then obviously you can have the management company look after it, manage it for you. So from A to Z, it's set up and you don't have to leave your sofa. So really worthwhile looking at.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good. And I was going to say, I had someone ask a question the other day, Nick. It'd be good to hear your insight. I think a lot of people, when they buy, feel like they have to come out here. Do they have to do that? Obviously, it would be good to hear from your side. A lot of people that buy overseas are like, do I need to come and visit to do anything before it goes live or it's ready and completed to rent out? Do they have to do that, or
it's not compulsory? There's a number of ways to go about it. You can get what's called a POA, which is basically nominating another individual to act on your behalf legally, and then they can take handover for it. But there's no requirement to come out here. Some people, they might come over, visit, have a quick look, meet a developer, shake our hands, etc. But other than that, no, there's no physical requirements.
Okay, that's good to hear.
The one thing I like about Dubai as well, I've noticed even more so now, is like how diverse like the people are now here. Like lots of different countries moving here, which is really cool in my opinion. So what would you say is what you noticing is maybe the biggest buyers here in Dubai? Because obviously we know UK, the appetite's there, but then they're probably not necessarily the biggest overseas buyers. Have you noticed a trend in sort of nationalities that are buying here?
Yeah, I mean, you say that UK or British buyers, they're definitely up there.
Yeah.
So some surveys, if you look at companies like Allsop and Allsop, who are effectively the biggest agency here, I think they were saying 26% of their overseas buyers were British.
Yeah.
But they are a British firm, so naturally they attract a lot of British clientele. But I would say the European markets are very strong at the moment. So in particular, France and Germany. They're big buyers here. Indian and Pakistani guys are big buyers here. Indian in particular, there's a lot of big Indian developers here.
Yeah.
Bingati is one of them. Shoba is an Indian developer. So they do a lot of overseas advertising and bring a lot of capital in.
Okay.
Also, in general, there's just a huge Indian workforce here.
Yeah.
There's a good chemistry here, and the governments are well aligned as well. In recent times, you've seen, for obvious reasons, a lot of Russian capital come into the marketplace.
Yeah.
That would be literally in cash, in crypto, etc., etc. So huge amount of wealth coming over from Russia still at the moment. So I'd say they're the main guys. So British, those couple of European countries, Indian, Pakistanis, and then Russia. I was speaking to another agency recently, actually, and they were saying they were seeing a lot of activity from Turkey as well. A lot of people looking to bring capital out of there. And then you have obviously your normal GCC countries. So
to be fair, I know you mentioned Turkey there. I've had quite a few clients that have, as you said, Nick, rightly moving funds from their own country to overseas. I believe even in the UK, we've had a hell of a lot more demand with the Turkish as well. So it's good to hear it's in Dubai as well.
Actually, you touched on that crypto. So how's crypto and blockchain? Can you use it? Because I've read quite a few bits, and I understand there's transactions that can take place using it. And has that affected the real estate market here?
I wouldn't say it's shaped the market as a whole. However, it's definitely made it easier for investors and buyers coming into Dubai.
Yeah.
So a lot of developers are teed up to take crypto now. It's way more mainstream, even than 18 months, 2 years ago. Number of reasons behind that. One, they want the money as soon as possible.
Yeah.
But two, just the demand. Like you're constantly having people, I'm sure you guys know as well, people, can you pay in crypto? Can you pay in crypto? So a lot of developers have put in systems and processes to take that in like a native format, so to speak. Then others will be, we have this recommended third-party exchange you can use, and they'll facilitate it and make it as easy as possible, even though they're not taking it directly, if that makes sense. But the other factor I'd mention on that as well is the Dubai government, the UAE government, should I say, are very much pro that world. So cryptos, NFT, they're actually, I believe they're regulating it as well. They want to be like, a forefront of that industry across the globe. That's one of their big ambitions moving forward. So I do see that increasing excessively in the coming years.
I think it's going to attract a lot of people as well. Literally. You got to think the amount of people that are really in that world. And as you said, it's become more and more mainstream over the past couple of years, that crypto and NFT side of things. I mean, we saw it blow up, didn't we? Yeah. And then, I mean, look, we know the crypto market is crazy. I know I had a lady and she was, she was going to invest into the UK and she was like, I want to see what's happening. But it's good to hear that people can generally actually utilize as an actual pay method now, and do it safely as well. Exactly. That's the big thing. It's not an under the table briefcase like a cash purchase like some of them do. The only other thing I'd mention that on that as well is that I was surprised because I was doing a few meetings a while back, and you see 21-year-olds with huge amount of crypto looking at $500,000 properties in SLS, which is like a 5-star resi hotel building in effectively Business Bay downtown. So it's coming up right from the younger guys that are seeing more of the crypto stuff.
So you're saying I should buy crypto? Is that what you're saying?
Bring all your Bitcoin, Toby.